If you are watching this video, then I have some news for you. I am gone on a trip to China. I'm traveling this week, and as part of that, I had to get my setup all packed up and ready to go. I'm gonna be covering some events in China and should have some great videos from that coming out over the next little bit. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out. I'm gonna use this as a chance to go over and answer some questions that people have been asking me since I've started doing YouTube, and that is, what do I use for my recording setup? What do I use for my travel setup? And I've been traveling, covering 3D printing and other related tech events for a couple years now, and I've gone through the process. I have bought a lot of equipment that just didn't end up working with my workflow. So I've kind of got it all settled down. I've figured out what works for me, and today we're gonna go through that. And we're gonna start with this camera, the one you're looking at right now. This is the camera that I use for recording videos at home in my setup, and it is nothing really fancy. It's a Sony a6400. I picked it up as an open box deal at Best Buy years ago. I have it set up with just a cheap Feel World, I think it's called, screen above it, just so I can see myself a little bit better because the pop-out screen is kind of blocked by the cage. The lens I use on this camera is a Sigma 18-50 millimeters. Since I'm recording by myself, I don't really need auto zoom or anything. I just manually zoom in or out when I need to set up the framing. So it works really good. Sigma glass on Sony cameras is a very good, not quite expensive, but not quite really budget option for a lot of cameras. And in fact, you'll see more Sigma lenses as we go through this video today. And then for audio, I use these. I use the DJI lav system. So I have two lavs here, and then the receiver is just plugged in through the mic cable on this camera. This is also the same lav system I use on my streaming setup, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then for batteries, I just use the big NFP batteries plugged into the screen, which is plugged into the camera through a dummy battery, and that powers it all, and I can get several hours of recording before I need to worry about swapping batteries. So that is the setup that I use for recording videos. I don't like making videos. It's funny to say this as a YouTuber. I much prefer live streaming. I have much more fun live streaming. Videos for me are just, I work better when I have an audience to bounce off of. And so to make recording videos easy for me, I make the setup as easy as possible. And part of that is having dedicated setups for each thing I do. So this camera, I just use for videos. For streaming, I have a completely different setup. Even though I'm in the same room, completely different setup. For streaming, I have in the garage out here a Sony a6300. That has a Sigma 16 millimeter fixed lens on it. It's a nice wide angle lens. It doesn't fisheye too much, but it allows me to have the camera pretty close to me because room is kind of a limitation where I'm at here. And then I keep the camera mounted on it's a monitor arm. It's a computer monitor arm, and it's always fixed and ready to go. It's powered by a dummy battery plugged into the wall, so I never have to worry about charging it. And again, I use the DJI mics with it as well. I like the DJI mics simply for the fact that I actually have two transmitters for the one receiver. So in the event that I'm live streaming, I just stream long and the battery dies, I can just swap to the other mic. Or more often, I just forget to charge them and I have to swap midway through the stream. So out here in the garage, Sony a6300. Down in the basement, the streaming setup is roughly the same. It's a Sony a5100, still uses the Sigma 16 lens, pretty much the same setup. It's on a permanent mount that's wall mounted. Unfortunately, with the Sony a5100, it only does 1080p, but it does 60 FPS, whereas these cameras, the Sony a6300 and the 6400 do 4K. Now, if you watch the live streams, you notice I stream at 1440p. The reason I do that is quite simple. YouTube allocates more bandwidth for higher resolution streams. So last I checked, if you stream at 1080p 30, you are allocated about 6,000 kilobits per second for upload. At 1440p 60, which is what I upload to YouTube at, you're allocated, I think it's 18,000 kilobits per second. So you get a higher upload bandwidth, which hopefully means YouTube crunches it less when it re-encodes it and then feeds it to the audience. The only downside with that is I can't stream with the lowest delay, so there's about a 7-second delay on the stream, but I've been using it for years and I like it. Also, at 1440p, it allows me to punch in with the 4K camera when I crop into my face or the desk or whatever without losing pixel density, essentially. So it's actually a really nice setup. I really like this setup for streaming. And then, of course, I do have the computers for streaming. I have a dedicated computer out here in the garage and one downstairs. They're nothing special. The one out here is a Ryzen 2nd gen, it's a 3700X powered computer. The one downstairs is an Intel i5-12100, I believe. Both have 1070s for the graphics cards. Yes, the 1070s are old, but they're just encoding a video feed. We're not playing high FPS video games with like stuff flying all over the screen. So when it comes to encoding, the basic NVENC encoder that's built into those older NVIDIA cards works just fine. It's the only load those video cards see, except when we're playing marbles at the end of stream. Now, when it comes to on-the-go traveling, that's my most complicated setup. And this is my bag. Well, actually, this is my old bag. So if you've seen me at events in the past, you've probably seen this bag. This is a Maxpedition, I believe it's a Falcon 2. I've had this bag for over a decade. This was my gun bag back when I used to do IDPA and IPSC. This was my gun range bag, and it's just a very good bag. I use it for a lot of stuff. It's like a day pack when I travel nowadays, but for what I use it for when I travel for covering events, it's not the greatest. Yes, it has a lot of straps. You can buckle stuff to it. You can clip stuff on. It's really handy for adding stuff to it. But the bag itself, when empty, is kind of heavy. It's not really set up for electronics, so you just kind of shove stuff in the two main pouches, and there's no like laptop holder for anything. It just all kind of bounces around. It's not the greatest for getting stuff out if it's at the bottom, because you got to unbuckle stuff. It's a good overall bag, but it's kind of, I found its faults. After using it for a couple of years, I found its faults, and I figured we'd try something new, and that's why I'm now using the new LTT commuter backpack. I purchased this myself, and I've been eyeing an LTT backpack for a while. I've seen the bigger ones, the original one, and I was gonna buy one until I saw one in person, because I'll be honest, I found it too big. So when they came out with the smaller one here, I believe it's 20 liters. I don't know the exact size. You can find it on their website. I jumped on it. I bought it. It was on sale when it first came out. And this is what I'm going to use for this trip that I'm on right now. Hopefully, I'm on a plane right now. Or actually, I should be landing about now when this video goes live. We'll see. So this will be the first trip with it. And I've got it all packed up with my stuff that I use when I travel and record events. So let's go through it. So first things first, we'll go through the back here. So in the back, we have the compartment that holds my laptop. This is a Framework 13. I picked it up used. It's a Framework 13 AMD. I'm running Bazite on it. I don't really edit videos when I travel, but I still like to have the ability to edit if I need to. So I have Kdenlive on here because unfortunately DaVinci, which I normally use for editing my videos, DaVinci Resolve, doesn't run on Linux without a dedicated GPU. And I've been trying to get more and more into Linux. So this runs Linux, this runs Bazite. Other than that, it suits all my needs. It's good battery life. I can fix stuff on here if it breaks. I love repairability and stuff. And I got it used on a pretty good deal, so I can't really complain. And then with this, I don't know how people live off of just trackpads. I can't. So I bring a mouse everywhere I go. And for a while, I used to bring like really cheap travel mice. But what I ended up settling with was this. This is a SteelSeries Rival 3 wireless mouse. It's a gaming mouse, which means it's light. And two, it's got Bluetooth built in, so I don't need to use a dongle to connect it to my laptop. It just connects over Bluetooth. So it's light and I don't have to deal with a dongle, and it's got crazy good battery life. It just goes off AA's. So yeah, it's a little bit bigger than a travel mouse, but it's lighter than most travel mice that I've found. So it kind of makes up for that. So that's the mouse I use. And then also, this is gonna be a little, call this tinfoil hatty. But whenever I'm recording stuff on the go, I always have a backup. So I carry this. This is a SanDisk Extreme Portable 1 terabyte SSD. Whenever I'm flying, I keep this on me. Call me paranoid, but if I travel somewhere for an event and I'm recording all weekend, I put all my footage on here. I actually back up everything 3 times. I keep it on the original SD card, I back it up to my laptop, and then I also back up the footage to this SSD. And then when I travel back, this stays on me. I keep this in my pocket or a coat or something on me, just in case something happens with the plane. Planes are in the news right now. And something happens, this is on me. So at least I have the footage. So we'll leave it at that for now. So that's that. That's it for the back compartment here. And then in the main compartment here, this is where the important stuff is. In fact, the most important thing when traveling by plane, my Steam Deck. I got a Steam Deck. I don't bring it with me every time I go somewhere, but if I'm flying and the flights are gonna be over, more than 4 or 5 hours, I bring the Steam Deck. If it's a short flight, I don't bother. And I'll be honest, I don't really use this when I'm at somewhere. I have my laptop, I'll watch movies or whatever. But when traveling on a plane, it's nice to have a Steam Deck if you have one. So I have the Steam Deck. We have a 2500 milliamp hour battery bank. I have another battery bank we'll get to in a minute, but this is like the big one that I use for keeping my laptop charged or my Steam Deck or whatever while I'm traveling. Most modern planes have a wall wart you can plug in to charge and whatnot. But if not, it's nice to have a big honking battery bank. And then we have my actual recording setup. This is everything I need to record videos when I travel. Simple as that. And it is all in this little case here. It's a Skytree case. I bought it on Amazon. And in here we have several things. So this is a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This is what I use for recording all my videos. I bought the creator combo. So the creator combo comes with the extended battery, the tripod. It comes with like a dummy battery, like a non-battery battery. I don't bring that with me. I use the spot that it would normally take up in here to put both mics. So this comes with one wireless lav mic. I bought two because these wireless lav mics, I already have the DJI wireless lav mics. I now have 4 of them. These are the Gen 2 ones, which talk to this directly. So I don't need to worry about having a receiver. Back when, if you've seen me in the past, I recorded videos with a GoPro. I think I actually have it over here. I would use a GoPro to record, and the GoPro, I would have to plug in a receiver via a mic cable. And I'll be honest, every time I recorded videos at an event, I would come back and there'd be 1 or 2 videos where the audio was bad because the plug wasn't in all the way or something. Or as SpaceX says, the easiest part is no part, or whatever the saying is. So if I don't have to worry about an additional receiver, I don't have to worry about an additional receiver failing. And it's nice because it's got a built-in gimbal. If you don't know me, I suffer from what's called essential tremors. My hands kind of constantly shake. I've had it my entire life. I'm well aware of it, and I'm very used to dealing with it. But when it comes to trying to record videos handheld, there's a reason this camera, my Sony a6400, is always on a tripod. It's because I can't do handheld without stabilization. And this having a built-in gimbal and image stabilization, and it's got a nice big sensor in it as well, it works really good indoors, and it allows me to just record my videos like how I normally do, which are the way I like recording videos is more impromptu, on the fly. We're just yapping, we're just talking. I don't like going through a big setup to record a video at an event, and it's a lot easier to not have to deal with tripods and whatnot. So when I'm recording a video, it's pretty nice. It's got built-in face tracking. I could turn it off if I need to, and it allows me to spin the camera around and whatnot. So it's a pretty nice setup. It works really good for the type of content I do on the fly. And the video quality is good enough. The audio quality is good enough. It doesn't have to be the best in the world. It's just gotta be good enough to get the point across. And considering how light it is, how compact it is, how easy it is to set up and tear down when you're done recording, it's worth it, in my opinion. And there's a reason a lot of other 3D printing content creators over the past little bit have moved to this camera. Now, also in here, again, we have the 2 mics. I keep this in here as well. This is a Inuwu. Some of these brands on Amazon are kind of weird. Inuwu. It's a 10,000 milliamp hour battery bank. I keep this in here because this will allow me to recharge everything in this setup several times over before this runs out. I've never actually run a battery dry during a normal recording day at an event with any of my setup, but if I ever need to, I have a battery bank in here to charge everything else back up. Also in here, I keep some goodies, USB cable for charging stuff, a SD card adapter so that I can plug the SD cards into my computer. And then I also have this, which is just a 3D printed caddy for extra SD cards. Normally I travel with two, one in the camera and then an extra one. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever filled up an SD card in a weekend of filming, just with the quality of footage this records at the bit rate. I've never filled one up, but it's always good to have a backup. It's always better to be prepared and not need it than need it and not be prepared. So that is that. And then I also bring just, I have a Ugreen 65 watt hour plug into the wall wart that I bring with me. And that is about it for my setup. I also have a bunch of USB-C cables and whatnot in here for charging everything. So that is basically the setup. This will be the first time I'm using this backpack for traveling, so it'll be interesting. One thing I'm already kind of noticing, I wish they had, this bag doesn't really collapse. It's very roomy and it's poofy. So I kind of wish that there was like a strap in here once I have all my stuff in here, there's actually quite a bit of room. It moves around. It'd be nice if there's like a little strap in here to cinch everything down. It's kind of like how some luggages do, but this doesn't have that. So hopefully everything will be fine. I'm not too worried about it. Oh, and in the top pouch here, I keep some wired headphones for the plane, and then I also wireless headphones for other headphone use cases. So I keep those in there. So that is the entire setup. It's not too complicated. It's relatively simple. I've streamlined it a lot. At one point, I was bringing a microphone with a Zoom H4 audio recorder. I had a lot more than I really needed, and I've kind of streamlined this down over the past couple years to a pretty simple setup. This is all I need to record for a weekend, and I can even simplify this down even further. I'll be honest, I've gone to events like Murph or closer events where I pretty much just bring this and some clothes and a backpack to put everything in. So that's my setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more cool content like this, or you just want to see the stuff that I film with this stuff, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, ring the bell, like the smash button, subscribe to PewDiePie. I don't know, what else are we supposed to say as YouTubers? All that stuff. Anyways, I'm Taylor, the Canuck creator, and I'll see you in a week. Goodbye.